Hi, I'm Heather. Welcome to class. Today we're going to do a basic back bending sequence. Before we begin, if you find this video helpful, be sure to like and subscribe. We're going to start with a bolster underneath our front body, and if you have not got a bolster, see if you can get a pile of blankets so that it is reminiscent of a bolster. With the bolster at the front end of the mat, we're going to place the body along the bolster. So just above the pubis is where the front end of the bolster will be. The knees on the floor, and feel then that the bolster is helping to draw the pelvic abdominal muscles and organs up, the front pelvic bones up, and then we're trying to lengthen the back of the pelvis down and tailbone down. So this is helping to contribute to bringing more space into that lumbar spine. Let's point the toes and really explore that idea of draping the pelvis down off the edge of the bolster. And then set your elbows vertically underneath your shoulders, palms shoulder width apart, broaden the palms as you spread the fingers, and then slowly press into the hands to peel your chest up away from the bolster. Take care not to go straight into the straight arm position, because often that causes the shoulders to lift up into the neck and the arms internally rotate. So if you keep the elbows bent, roll the bicep muscles forward, squeeze the elbows in so they're contained within shoulder width, and then when you press into the hands, you're lifting the chest, but also you're moving the thoracic spine in. Thoracic spine in towards the sternum and the tailbone draping down. Feel the pressure of the bolster above the pubis, helping to lift the pelvic abdominal area up. And then come down, let's have a rest. You can drape your head down, rest on your forearms. And let's go again. Place the hands shoulder width apart. Keep the elbows contained within your shoulder width. And before you go to push into the hands and lift the head and chest up higher, really feel into that descent of the back of the pelvis. Tailbone down. Internally rotate your thighs. Stay on the front of the feet rather than rolling to the inner knees and the inner feet. Then press into the hands. Lift the chest, curl the back, keep the tailbone descending, but then from your lower back, move the back bend into your upper back. So you're still driving the hands down, peeling the chest up away from the bolster, rolling your shoulder tips back and down and engaging the shoulder blades. See if you can feel the shoulder blades, the lower tip of the shoulder blades, pressing into the back body to help lift the chest. Then come down. And again, have a rest. Now let's do one more. Place the hands. Draw your tailbone down. So make that a conscious movement, tailbone down. Press into the hands, peel your chest up. Make sure the inner hands are pressing down as much as the outer hands. Squeeze the elbows in, roll the biceps forward to help roll the shoulder tips back and down. Then as the thoracic spine moves in towards the breastbone, broaden the breastbone and the collarbones and engage the shoulder blades strongly into the back. So the shoulder blades are riding down the back, not lifting up the back. Then if you've got space in the back of the neck, lift your chin, start to look up. But do keep some space between the back body and the base of the skull. And then slowly come down and once more, have a rest. Now for Urdhva Mukha Svanasana, the upward facing dog pose, turn the bolster so that it goes across the width of the mat. This will be underneath our upper thighs. And we'll have bricks for our hands. Let's place them flat, shoulder width apart. And so you can lean into the bricks, tuck your toes under and bring your thighs, your upper thighs, onto the bolster and when you straighten the arms, just make sure that your wrists are vertically under your shoulders. So then as you press into the hands, thighs on your bolster, keep the legs straight. So the toes are tucked under, legs are straight. Press the shin bones up to straighten the knees and then drive the hands into the floor. Roll the elbows back like we did in Bhujangasana, biceps forward, and then straighten your arms. See if you can move your tailbone down and lift the front pelvic bones up. Lift the pubis to navel up. Arch the upper back as you draw the shoulder blades down the back. Shoulder blades press forward in towards the rib cage. Sternum lifting, collarbones broad. Then to come out of the pose, let's bend the knees to the floor. Settle the hips back for a moment and rest the forehead down. Let's go again. Bring your hands onto your bricks and toes tucked under, upper thighs on your bolster. With the toes tucked under, press the shin bones up, firm the thighs, knees straight, and then roll the biceps forward as you straighten the elbows. And then feel as if you're trying to scoot the bricks back towards the feet side to move your chest further forward and up. Tailbone down, outer hips forward as you roll your inner thighs up. Look up, but keep the base of the skull lifting away from the back body, shoulder blades drawing down. And then come back down onto the knees and rest your forehead down on the forearms. Rather than repeating that again with the bolster under the thighs, we're going to work in our up face dog pose without the bolster under the thighs, but we will still use our bricks under the hands, and then we'll transition to Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog pose. Now sometimes the bricks can slip on our mat when we change from upward dog to downward dog. So let's put our bricks underneath our sticky mat. Make sure they're shoulder width apart, they're level with each other. And then press into your hands and start on the knees for our upward facing dog pose. Move the hips forward, roll the shoulders back as you straighten the arms, and then you may be able to walk the knees in a little more. Challenge yourself in terms of, can you bring the pelvis further forward towards the forearms? Roll the biceps forward, shoulder tips back. Now we're on the front of the feet. Press the front feet into the floor to lift your kneecaps off the floor, but direct your tailbone down, outer hips forward. Look up, inhale, then exhale. We're going to roll over the toes to our down face dog pose. Press the head of the thighs up. Lengthen through the lumbar spine, arms and legs straight. Then look forward. Let's come back down onto the knees and we'll come forward for our upward facing dog pose again. Now you may need to adjust where the knees are. Hip width knees, hip width feet. Bring your chest forward. Roll the shoulders back, point the toes. Internally rotate your thighs. So you start on the front of the kneecaps, not the inner knees or the inner feet. Then drive the hands into the floor to push away from the floor. Don't let yourself sink down. You don't want the shoulders up around the neck and the ears. Drive the arms and the hands down to lift your spine up, lift your chest up. Look up, but don't collapse the skull onto the back body. Straighten the knees. Shin bones press up, outer hips forward towards your hands. Inhale, exhale, curl over your toes. Move back into your downward dog and get steady there. If your stance between the hands and the feet feels just a little too long, then walk forward a little more. Lift the buttocks. Breathe. Then come down onto your knees and we'll have a rest. So you can drape the forearms down, rest the forehead on your forearms and relax there. Having moved the bricks from underneath the mat, we'll transition now to Ustrasana, the camel pose. So let's come up onto our knees and shins. Hip width knees, hip width feet. Can you drive the shin bones down? Press the front ankles, the front feet into the floor and lift the front pelvic bones up, pubis to navel up. So that helps you to move the back of the pelvis down away from the lower back. Then we can place the thumbs right in against the spine. You can feel the top rim of the pelvis there with your hands. Draw that down with your hands and start to arch back. So as the pelvis is moving down, the rest of the spine can lift up and arch back over the shins. Go on driving the shins down, so that helps you activate the thigh muscles. The entire circumference of the thigh working, hamstrings and front thighs, feel them switched on. Then can you reach back to the heels? If not, you could put a bolster on top of the shins, the ankles, to reach back to. Then press the hips forward, outer hips forward, as you go on driving the shins down. The head can go back. Reach the heels of the hands to the heels of the feet if you've got that capacity. Breathe. Shins down, outer hips forward. Then come up, all the way up. Sit the buttocks on the heels and have a rest for a moment. Let's go again. Ustrasana, camel pose, knees and feet hip width apart. Place the thumbs back towards the spine. Feel, then you can press the heels of the hands on the top rim of the pelvis, move that down and lift the spine up away from the pelvis. Shoulder tips back. Drive the shins down, start to arch back. You can already take your head back, reach your hands back to the feet or to the bolster. Then as you go on driving shins, ankles, front feet down, press the hips forward, outer hips forward. Descend the pubis and the tailbone. Breathe smoothly and move the thoracic spine up into the sternum. And then we'll come all the way up. Sit the buttocks back on the heels and once more rest. Now for those who are keen, we're going to move on to Urdhva Dhanurasana, and you'll see I've got a bolster and a couple of bricks here to give us a platform from which to lift. So if we sit on our bricks, we lie back. So the back of the pelvis is on the bricks and then the spine, the head, is on our bolster. Now this can be a way to potentially make it more accessible for us to bring the hands onto the floor in the position that we need for Urdhva Dhanurasana. And for some students, this is enough, lying on the bolster and practicing the positioning of the hands. So the hands tuck back, the fingers curl back towards the body. And as we consider lifting up off the floor, just note the positioning of the elbows. Sometimes they splay right out wide. See if you can guide them within the width of your shoulders and walk the feet in, hip width feet, spread the toes. When we lift, we're going to lift the hips and take the head back onto the bolster, crown of the head onto the bolster. Inhale deeply. Exhale, lift the hips. Press into the feet, press into the hands, take the crown of the head onto the bolster, pause there, roll the elbows in, roll the outer arms up, engage the shoulder blades. Inhale again, exhale, press into the hands. Now you might feel there's a big distance between hands and the feet, so you can potentially lift the heels, walk the feet in, or bring the head back down onto the bolster and walk the hands in. Then again, press into the hands, lift up, outer hips up, inner knees down. When you drive the hands into the floor, squeeze the elbows straight. Feel as if someone's pressing on the very top of your shin bones to move your weight more towards the arm side, less towards the leg side. And then we'll come down. So when you come down, bend the elbows, tuck the chin towards the chest so that you can come all the way back down onto the bolster and onto the bricks. And then rest the arms, rest the legs. If you're having difficulty in lifting up into Urdhva Dhanurasana, I do have another video on my YouTube channel that helps in bringing awareness in how to come into the pose. We've got some creative prop use, so that might inform your approach to the posture. I'll put a link in the description box below. That's it for today. Thanks for joining me. For more in-depth teaching, check out the video library on my website, heatherkitchenyoga.com.au. The link is in the description box below.